Hi, and good morning, everybody. My name is Emily Björnefur, and I'm responsible for the HCM organization and Workday here in Sweden. It is really a pleasure to me to kick off these 2 days of Workday event. And this is not actually the first time we do this, it's the 7th, and for sure not the last, since we really want to help all our Workday clients and users to get the most out of this fantastic tool. So we really want to make sure that you are ready for the new release, all the new fantastic functionality, in order to help you and to actually make sure that you use these in your business to get the most out of it. So I will be here today just like a really short time, and also you will see me back here tomorrow. But for now, I really want to hand over to one of my colleagues who will be hosting you today. So Christina, I will, with a really warm hand, give the word to you.
Hello, Emily, and thank you very much for the introduction. I warmly welcome everyone to this event. I'm Kristina Zvelabilova, and together with my colleague Katrin Kampura, I'm going to be your host for today. We're going to start off with a guest speaker presentation about adaptive planning done by Erik Ersfjord from Workday. And then we're going to continue by content about the new release. Traditionally, we're going to start off with the HCM Core by Kaija Törrönen, followed by System and Reporting by Aleksandra Ciurka. Then after the lunch, Vinod Kakarlapudi is going to guide us through the basics of Workday Extend. He's going to give us a bit of an introduction to this. And you may or you may not know yet, but TietoEVRY became a Workday Extend partner. So with this new expertise, we would like to also share you more insights into this topic and how Extend can make your life with Workday better. Then we're going to continue with the new release with the people experience. Marisana Fred is going to tell us what's new with people experience. Anthony Castan will guide us through the updates of compensation and advanced compensation. And then Arvind Mishra is going to do the same for benefits. And at the end, we are going to finish the day with the session about integrations done by Ehtasham Khan. You may also follow up with the agenda at TietoEVRY.com/Workday2021R2, which is the landing page where you have registered. Then let me just go quickly through a couple of practicalities. We warmly welcome your questions, so please don't hesitate to utilize the Q&A functionality. And we're going to check your questions and answer them either during the event or afterwards via email. Then please note that those sessions are going to be recorded and recordings are going to be available to you, but it may take a couple days to process them and share them. You may have noticed that we have shared an email right today in the morning with a dedicated link where you can download the handouts. So presentations are already available to you in the form of PDF, so you can make notes as we speak. And then lastly, I would like to welcome you to the Digital HR Insights community. So if you're not a part of it yet, I welcome you to join at TietoEVRY.com/digital-HR. And if you join, then you will receive relevant event invitations and insightful content for you and your HR digitalization journey. And that's about it for me. So now I would like to invite our first speaker to the stage. So Erik, are you here with us?
I am.
Awesome. Are you ready to tell us what's great about adaptive planning?
Absolutely. Always ready to do that.
Awesome.
Let's see if I can share my screen. Cool. Could I just confirm that you can see my screen okay?
It's slowly coming up. And now we can see it. So I think that you're good to go. Thank you, Erik.
Great, thank you very much. I'll actually turn off my camera a little bit then, so to preserve some sort of bandwidth then for us as well. So hi everyone, and welcome to today's session on planning for the future. Now I have the pleasure of kicking off this series of sessions that you'll be attending over today and tomorrow. And my name is Erik Ersfjord. I am a solutions consultant with the Workday EMEA planning team, and I joined Workday back in December 2020, and before joining up, I spent around 10 plus years within the FP&A and business performance management space. Most recently, I come from a consulting firm specializing in planning, budgeting, and forecasting tools. And before that, I've had line roles within planning and analytics, really focusing on helping organizations drive decision-making and getting value out of their systems and data. Now, before we go any further today, I need to show you our safe harbor statement, and I'm sure you've seen this before a couple of times. My key here is that this presentation and our discussions may contain forward-looking statements and discussions of future or planned functionality. And so, you know, Workday is a software company, and our roadmap and planned features are subject to change. And it's important that you make any purchase decision based on what is currently available in the system. Now, everything that you'll see me show you in the system today is available to our customers today. And I'll specifically call out if we stray into any territory that would fall under our safe harbor. So with that, let's continue. Obviously, people drive your business. So then, what is workforce planning? And what is our vision for it? Well, basically, it means looking at all the people that are out there and working out how to get the right people into the right role at the right time, and also making sure that they have the right skills to meet the goals of the business. Now, this is a lovely and simple idea, but it's extremely difficult to do well, even in a perfect world. And as you all know, we're not living in that perfect world, as business environment is constantly changing. Our data keeps exploding, and it's always getting harder to keep on top of it. And the pace of regulatory change is, of course, a constant factor in heavily regulated industries. But shifts in global trade can also change the game for pretty much everybody. And of course, digital transformation is enabling emerging competitors, but is also creating opportunities for your organization. In essence here, business agility is very much now a determining factor for success in our world of change. In the face of all this change, businesses are looking to HR to provide a leading role in enhancing business agility. And it can only do so by being more of an agile function itself. And that requires a new approach to workforce planning. Better tools, deeper insights into your worker data. For example, insights into skills by skill level, location and availability. So we know what we need to do to achieve our goals. And it's that combination of workforce planning and analytics that enables better decisions faster. And here the Workday vision goes beyond this too. The key is not only to enable decisions, but moving those plans into motion quickly and seamlessly, enabling us to act on those decisions. This is a lovely, simple idea, but difficult in practice. Now, what we've found is that in many companies today, decision-making is actually stalled by what we call static planning, where everyone is planning in their own silos and dealing with perhaps too many versions of spreadsheets. And this situation makes it extremely difficult to do a single annual plan, let alone a continuous scenario analysis that is actually required in an agile organization. So how do we get away from all that? Well, central to our vision for workforce planning is the need for what we call an active planning process. And Workday Adaptive Planning comes in here and delivers a planning process that is collaborative, comprehensive, and continuous. Collaborative, including participants from throughout the company. Comprehensive, visibility, and analysis into every level of every operational function. And of course, continuous, able to continually measure, make timely decisions, and fine-tune. Workday Adaptive Planning delivers this because we're easy, powerful, and fast. You need all three things supporting you. It has to be easy to use, so you can get users from throughout your business and not use those specialized teams as active participants. It has to be powerful and scalable, so you can plan and analyze all aspects of your business, no matter how data intensive or complex. And it has to be fast, supporting rapid planning, analysis, and decision making, so you can stay ahead of your competitors. But we must always remember that without execution and analysis, planning in itself is pointless. And yet that's what most planning tools provide. Here, Workday lets you seamlessly put those plans into motion and continually analyze them. You can view plan against performance with real-time worker data, adapt immediately, seamlessly drill down to analyze source data within HCM. And of course, most excitingly, our plan to execute functionality allows an approved workforce plan to automatically drive actions in HCM, connecting directly with your established security and business processes to, for example, open new positions. And this enables you to plan, execute, and analyze, and of course, repeat all in one platform. But let's take a bit of a step back here. The term workforce planning is used quite a lot, but what is actually involved in workforce planning? Well, most commonly, people think of strategic changes in the business and workforce planning being a map of how we get from here, today's workforce, to here, tomorrow's. And what does that journey look like? Well, everyone has heard of build, borrow, and buy, and also bot, if you like, but this set of words actually hides a lot of detail. Yes, but how do we actually make those decisions on which is best for our business? Well, Workday Adaptive Planning as part of the Workday platform is uniquely positioned to leverage all of your core HCM data to help you do just that. Take building. Well, we have our existing workforce in HCM. We can then bring in details about training courses from Workday Learning or anywhere else, and use details about duration, costs, etc., and build that into our plan. Sure, we can train someone, but it'll take 9 months and cost us however many thousands of euros. Now, with a fully linked plan, we can then factor in that that person is out of action for 9 months, with whatever impact that actually has on our talent supply. Borrowing, well, we already have all of our HCM detail about contingent costs. We can seamlessly use those as drivers for the impact of bringing in more. Or buying new employees. Workday Adaptive Planning can look at all your existing salary data and use existing average salaries across job profiles to drive cost of new employees. But also allow you to override where that's just not appropriate. Say if you have a location which is particularly senior, where average salaries is not going to reflect market rate for new employees. And anything else in talent acquisition that impacts your recruitment pipeline can drive your plan too. This is already a huge amount of power. But often the focus is just on this piece, the strategic shift, the move from here to there. But before you think of strategic moves, you have to get your business as usual plans right. The tactical planning needs of every organization. And this is planning that involves all of the business, which is why it's so critical that you have support from a solution that is easy to use. Take attrition. Voluntary, involuntary, as well as retirement. We can leverage core HCM data to identify problem hotspots, for example, areas with low employee engagement, and easily model the impact of initiatives to reduce attrition. Or plan for compensation adjustments and promotions, but also provide one central point for everyone to plan for their business as usual growth with new positions or acquisitions. And once approved, drive straight through to HCM to action. The key is to have a continuous process where we can have all the HCM data seamlessly driving our plan and our plan kicking off processes in HCM once approved. So what about it? Where is that coming from? Historically, demand for talent is taken as read. It's given to HR by the rest of the organization. For today's agile organizations, that might not be good enough. If HR is going to be a strategic partner to decision makers throughout the business, the demand plan needs to be a true part of the workforce plan and able to be tweaked and analyzed through different scenarios. Like, what if we launched that new initiative and we have 10% more customers? How does that reflect in our needs to change our workforce? HR has to understand the impact that people have on all areas of the business and the impact that a changing work environment has on the workforce. Now, we also need to decide upon what skills we're going to need tomorrow. How will our job profiles evolve? Are the new job profiles we actually need? Is the mix of profiles changing? This is obviously common with digital transformations. Some are winding down, others are coming up. How can we manage the skills that are required? And how will existing profiles evolve? What new skills will we need to develop in the workforce? And then there's, of course, the question of how do we then move from those current skills to the future state? How do we fill these gaps? Well, you need a solution that allows us to evaluate these options, from training to new hires, but also internal gigs. And right now, in our pandemic, many of our customers have another dimension to the workforce planning, which is work. And it's critical to involve your workforce, as the impact of this is huge. And we've been working together with our partners and customers to help them do just that, to develop the plans they need, to evaluate the workforce. Who is ready to return to the office? Who wants to? And what roles would actually benefit the most? Then how are we going to do it? How are different locations faring in terms of COVID cases? And once we can, what does the rollout look like? Over what time? Involving who? And no one thinks things are going to be just like they were. So how can we roll with the changes in work that our workforce need and potentially even demand? Now, there's never been a more challenging time for workforce planning, but here Workday is leading the way in helping our customers be ready. For instance, with Airbus, who's actually planning for a workforce of 130,000 with new aircraft orders driving worker demand, which they can then plan to address across all different dimensions. But this is enough of me just talking shop. Let's actually take a look. Now, I'm setting the scene a little bit further for what we've got planned over the next 15 minutes or so. Firstly, we're going to be looking at how our organization is doing today, then move into a top-down approach, and then we're going to be tackling a couple of different ways we can approach bottoms-up planning. So with that, let's actually jump in to our solution. And as I'm a visual person, we're going to be doing our demo today straight from our dashboards. And for those of you who might not have seen Workday Adaptive Planning before, to the top left, we got a couple of filters, which is time, which is, well, time. We also have a level structure, and this is our HR supervisory org here in my case. And to our top right here, we have our version selector. And this enables me to quickly access the different versions that I have. These are different sandboxes that I can go in and play with, and pull different levers and see what happens. Now, I can't touch our actuals, which in my case here are primarily populated by Workday worker data, but I can touch the different versions, and I can compare them all to each other and to actuals to see the impacts of my planning. And in addition to that, I got a couple of filters up here running across job profiles, locations, top performers, supervisory org leaders, things like that. This allows me to slice and dice the data as we need and as we want, right? The key thing here is that these structures, including the level structure, job profiles, locations, and the other dimensions, can directly be sourced from Workday HCM. And this eliminates the need to recreate these dimensions in a planning tool or in Excel for that matter. The foundations are shared between our budget here and HCM. And as we're looking at this dashboard itself, what do we actually see here? Well, we've got 3,000 calls here. This is telling me how many calls any one person is going to take on an annual basis. Calls is my main driver behind my plan here. And down here, I have that modeled out even further. The 1.1 that we see here, calls per hour, is the number of calls that anyone in my customer support center can take per hour. And we model that from January to December. And this goes on to how many calls per month, per person, to total calls on a monthly basis. And this helps us understand how many calls we can take during 2022. What this means is that we can link demand to operational data. And this also tells me that I have a bit of a gap. Oh, excuse me. Of course, I managed to turn that down. Turn it off, sorry. Give me 1 second to relog in. This is the beauty of technology.
No worries, Erik. Maybe meanwhile you can answer a question that we just got.
Absolutely.
So the question is, how many versions can I have?
That is a great question. These versions are central to the way we do planning, and we can have as many of them as we like, actually. And they can all be compared to each other. There's no technical limitation or commercial impact to it. thank you very much for that. Does that answer the question?
I hope so. It
Oh,
does
well.
to me at least. Then I highly encourage everyone to post more questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So yes, we've seen how we can model out different calls. And the key really, as I mentioned, is that we can link these demands to operational data. And what it tells me is, of course, that I have a gap in my demand and my supply here. Now we're looking at this at our top level. So let's actually change our perspective a little bit and look at our global support center instead. Operations and down here. And this is how you could be changing the different hierarchies to view different functions, different departments that you want to plan on. And now that we're here, my global support center, we see something that is quite different. I still have my 2,300 calls here. That obviously hasn't changed. But right now we're seeing that my demand and supply has obviously changed. And with my 2,300 calls, my first question might actually be, do we have enough resources to cover that? And if we're looking at this, well, we're seeing that I have a deficit of 67, right? But where do we get this 246 number from, our demand number here? Well, where is that actually stemming from? Well, demand here in my case is being driven by different formulas. And these are based on assumptions from our operational data. Now, in this dashboard, what we've done here is that we've included sheets that we use for forecasting and planning to make it easy to work on our budget. We immediately will get feedback through these associated graphs as we go ahead and update our plan. And we'll see a couple of examples of that later on in our short session today. And in addition to this, we have, of course, our assumptions, right? And these assumptions here are workforce assumptions. This is just an example of how they might look like. They would be specific to your business and your way of planning. And they can really be anything that is relevant for you. And we can calculate these numbers of really anything, as well as the fact that we're designed to be integrated with other systems. We can calculate these numbers, let's say, of headcount from Workday HCM in combination with our CRM data, for example. And of course, we can also go ahead and explore these numbers to our heart's content to really see what they're made up of. And in this case here, we see that the formula here is written out plainly in English. It's easy to understand. There's no obscure Excel cell references to offline workbooks or anything like that. Now, when working with formulas in Excel, for instance, you might be employing various and many different kinds. And one of the disadvantages is that people accidentally change or perhaps just delete these formulas, making your spreadsheet corrupt, or simply breaking it all together. Well, we've all been there. You open up an Excel sheet, file, and getting errors, circle references. And these assumptions and formulas within Workday planning can all be fixed. So there's no accidental changes can be made. Right? Let's head back to our dashboard here. Now, in addition to our supply and demand deficits, we also have our skills gaps. I see here that I have 125. In my global support department. And of course, I have critical skills gaps next to that. And just as we did in assumptions, I can drill in and explore this. So for instance, here we have service orientation, which is clearly standing out. And if I want to look at the individual skills driving that, and here I see that active listening is the main part. And this means that I have a critical skills gap that is active listening in my global support center. It's a bit of a worry for me if my team at the global support center are not very good at listening, for instance. Let's actually refocus our perspective a little bit more here. Let's actually look at our customer service representatives here. And when we refocus our perspective on this dashboard here, we now see that our headcount gap has changed to 68, and we now have 49 workers with critical skills gaps. So now our planning activities are going to be focused around addressing these issues. And there's, of course, different approaches to planning. So let's first have a look at a top-down approach. And what we need to do here is compare our headcount needs to demands and also to costs, and then look at the different scenarios to match these elements up. Now I'm still looking at this from my global support center and customer service representatives. That hasn't changed. And there's one thing that immediately stands out to me as I'm coming in here, and that is the headcount variance here that we see in the middle. It's 0. And that means that someone has potentially already come in and started putting a plan together. I can see here that we've budgeted for 138 employees at a particular cost, and we've allocated for that 138, but we're way over budget instead. And I can see how those different costs are broken out by my various different scenarios. And what we can do now is that we can explore these different scenarios while always keeping these metrics to the forefront. And it's now that our user, in our case here, it's Logan McNeil, our VP of Human Resources, can come in and start playing around with these numbers a little bit. Are we going to build, are we going to borrow, or are we going to buy some staffing? And I can also see these different options, different scenarios highlighted down here. I can, for instance, see we're initially thinking of upskilling 54, redeploying 1, recruiting 54 employees, and bringing in 13 different contractors. And of course, behind this is some associated costs with these different options. And again, all can be sourced from HCM. And what we're going to do now is simply go ahead and update our plan a little bit. So let's actually go ahead and change this to, let's say, upskilling 12. And let's say we want to be recruiting in 30 employees, but bring in 37 different contingent workers. And just hit save. And once we hit that save button, as we've been playing around with these different numbers, straight away we can see the impacts of our plan. It's easily identifiable. We're still hitting our 0 headcount variance, but now we're way under budget instead. So it looks like a good plan to me. And where this is important for our customers is that we're able to link all of this together. And thereafter, I'm able to see the impacts of the changes that I made. And I'm not only limited to things such as financial metrics and just headcount numbers, as we've seen here. This can also impact any other KPIs that I have. This can cascade through my diversity to see what and how, if any, this would impact my diversity metrics based on my current actuals. So what we've done here is that we've changed up our workforce plan mix a little bit so that we're now under budget whilst still having to meet up with our potential demand. Now, not every organization plans like this. A lot also looks at bottoms-up plans, where they split it out in terms of build, borrow, and buy, of course. So let's actually have a look at a bottoms-up approach where we can work with our different stakeholders in our organization to build up to those top-level numbers that we need to meet. And we're going to be looking at this from Alain Dubois' team. We're filtering on him, and potentially we would be working together with Alain here, helping him as one of our business partners. And we're going to be starting from a build perspective here. And what I can immediately see is that Alain here has 4 workers on his team. I can see my L&D plan as well as associated L&D costs. And I can also see the skills gap here that we're trying to close. And underneath here is a list of all of my current workers in Alain's team here. And what we're trying to do here is reducing our skills gap. And what we first might want to do with that in mind is really come in here and give Lisa Case some service orientation skills. Because remember, that was one of our critical skills gaps that we saw. And now we need to choose how are we going to impart those skills? How are we going to train her? And in my case here, we have learning campaigns, mentoring, peer-to-peer learning. But let's select mentoring here and then you simply hit save again. And again, what is happening here? Well, we're immediately seeing the impacts of our planning. Our graphs have been updated and we can actively see how we're closing the gap versus our top down. Now, Alain has also indicated to me that he has a top performer on his team who is currently working as a customer service associate that we can promote to the role of customer service representative to close this gap even further. So we'll be approaching this in terms of borrowing. And here we can still see that I have a bit of a gap versus my top down, and I have some critical skills gap as well. I'm going to start here by filtering this in customer service associates. And of course, we're interested in our top performers. We'll be filtering on that as well. And here I will see that we have Sylvain. He's our top performer who might be eligible to fill that position that we've targeted for promotion. And to do that, I don't need to go into another tool. What I'm simply going to do is just split Sylvain's record here in 2, like this. And then I'm just going to end him. That sounds very ominous. End his time, rather, as a customer service associate, like this. and start him off as a customer service representative. Now, when I go back to our customer service representatives, I can again actively seeing how we're working on closing this gap. Right now, we have no gap, top down or the bottom up, but we still have some critical skills gap to fill. And well, the last step of our bottoms up approach here today is really bringing in some external resources. So we'll be approaching this from a buy perspective. So what we're going to do here is open up some new job rec for Alliance team. And we see the list of them all down here. And again, this can all be sourced directly from HCM. And we have a couple of different ways we could do that. We could, of course, go ahead and add them one by one at a time, or simply select an existing one and just copy that. I'm going to go ahead and change the start date to August 31st as well, like so, and hit save. And again, it all comes back to this. How are we doing in terms of our planning? How are we performing against our bottoms up? And here we get that response immediately through these associated graphs. We're not left alone in an Excel sheet. We get a visual cues to tell us how we're doing. And now that we've done some updates to our plan, the cool thing here is that I can publish these plans straight into HCM. This is a truly integrated solution with comprehensive security. And this means that we're not hitting a wall like we would in terms of Excel. I can go from planning to execute and analyze, and I do that by publishing our plans. And there's a couple of advantages to that. I can have a plan to hire process that starts with new hire planning, which triggers workflow for new rec approvals. I also have an automatic reconciliation across HCM and planning, and that ensures that HR and finance focus on driving decisions versus data validations. We're all on the same page, looking at the same information. Now, this also ensures that we don't have any sensitive data in Excel by exporting the data from a system of record and then copying it into an Excel sheet, for instance, which obviously comes with some inherent security risks. Here we just don't have that. Lastly, we had complete transparency, not just in terms of the numbers themselves. We can trace this from open rec all the way to who actually filled the position. So what we've done here today is that we've done a quick little walkthrough of top level planning. We saw a couple of approaches to bottoms up planning that we used to begin to close our gaps a little bit. And I'm afraid that that's all that we have time for today. We've seen quite a lot during our very short time together. And of course, there's plenty more to show and see, such as workflows, processes, scenario planning, and things like that. And what we've seen is our approach to workforce planning and how it helps to address any number of different workforce planning needs, from foundational company-wide planning of your headcount to operational resource planning to meet demand and perhaps one-time events such as reorgs and M&A. Now, this also extends to both strategic workforce planning and with deeper insights, talent planning to look at medium to long range views for meeting anticipated talent demand. And this is whether to hire for, develop existing workers, transfer in or outsource, or even replace some manual time-consuming tasks with RPA. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your time and hand you back to Christina.
Thank you very much, Erik, for your insightful presentation. And I would like to once again repeat that if you have any more questions, you can, of course, also email them after the event, and we're going to forward them to Erik, and he's going to answer those.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, Erik. And now let's move on to our new release content, and we're going to start off with the basics. So I would like to invite Kaija to talk about the HCM Core and what came new with Workday 2021 Release 2. Kaija, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi. Can you hear me and see me?
Awesome. Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Great. I will just share the content. Okay. Can you see the content also? Actually, at the moment, it's a Workday system, which is on.
Yes,
and
we can.
Now it should be the presentation.
Yes, it is. So thank you. You're good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you. And it's so nice to be here talking about the new features of Workday R2 2021. And as Tina already mentioned before, please feel free to write questions during the presentation. We will go through those later on, but anyway, please write questions as soon as you have something in your mind. As mentioned already, the session is recorded and you have handouts already there. And just small reminder that there is a digital HR insights community that could be very useful for you, so you can join that also. And then about myself, you can't see my picture there, but you can see me, so hopefully that is enough. So I have rather long experience in HCM implementation projects. In SAP and in Workday, and I have been project manager and done different kind of tasks during the projects, from implementation to project management and customer support. In Workday, I have HCM Core certification and launch certificates. Then we have the safe harbor statement as presented already before, and this should be familiar to you. So we have some forward-looking statements, and it can be that something is changed before production start of these features. Then to the agenda. I'm going through some 2021 R2 main features in more detail, and then also some other features in 2021 R2 which are perhaps not so important or not so big, and we'll go through also some things about R1 Plus main features and other features, but let's see how the time goes. Actually, material is rather large, but don't be alarmed of that. We don't go each page through, so we'll just go through main things, and then let's see if you have some questions also. So let's start. Configure gender by country is the first feature we are going to have a look at. And as you can see in the slides we have here below the feature name, also the link to the community node and post where you can read more about the feature. There are some features which do not have this link, but for all that have had the link now, we have also updated there. As an overview, the configuration of these country-specific genders are meant to provide more intuitive user experience for your global workforce, and also to support compliance and diversity initiatives. There are several functionalities. There's maintain gender by country, locale, sensitive gender reporting, and updates to web services, get payees and get workers within this feature. In the maintain gender by country, there's a new task created, And that can be used to specify the gender by country of the person types: candidate, pre-hire, worker. Those are the most important ones, I believe, for Finnish customers, at least. And then there is academic affiliate, beneficiary, dependent, external committee member, external student, and student also, which can have this information. And you can configure the task to show some or all country-specific values in your tenant. And the values are displayed only when the worker in question is located in that kind of country which has this configuration. And also it's allowed to have inactive values. So if something is changing, that's possible. For local sensitive gender reporting, there is the field, there's a field delivered on the personal information by country business object, and that can be used in custom reports and condition rules to view the gender for workers in a specific country if you want to. And then get payees and get workers web services. They can be used to retrieve all personal information that is associated with a worker's primary position location and any additional job location for this maintain genders and maintain genders by country tasks. And when you implement the web services with segmented security, they return values only for configured country segments. So that is something you can do also. If we look a bit more about the configuration, you have to navigate to maintain gender by country task, and to configure genders, you have to select the certain country. Here you can see maintain genders by country screenshot, and here is a gender code. In the beginning, it says GBR, which is shortening from Great Britain. Workday is recommending that country code or country shortening would be used in the beginning of the code. And then there is a gender description also, of course. So, for example, if you need more than two genders, that is possible to get. And then to inactivate non-country specific genders, you need to navigate to maintain genders task and then select the inactive checkbox for the gender or those genders that you want to inactivate. And you can see that it's here in the last column in this screenshot. What else needs to be considered? Well, Workday determines location based on the worker's position, and gender values from other countries can be selected if the worker has an additional job or an international assignment in a different country or a job change to a different country. And country-specific gender values remain with the worker also when the worker is terminated from an additional job or has a job change to another country. So if there is some moving between countries, it's important to check also the gender specifications if they match or are correct for the person and correct for the country. Deployment considerations, you can configure the maintain genders by country task to show some or all country-specific values in your tenant. Some additional considerations also for customers, you who already have a live system. If you choose the limited adoption approach, you need to inactivate country-specific genders in maintain genders. And if you choose the full adoption approach, you need to inactivate all genders in maintain genders. And if you are taking this feature into use, you also need to convert non-country genders to country-specific vendors using the Change Personal Information EIB. And update integrations, of course, and reports with the gender local specific CRF and of course test also. There's a gender equality report and a new gender description column is added to the gender equality report, and that displays description for the gender. Then what is changing? Just summary. So R2 version enables you to configure the country-specific genders that workers can use to identify themselves. And Change Personal Information task displays those values if the worker is located in the configured country. So not all will see those, but those in the country in question. And what do you need to do to get this? You need to configure country-specific gender values using this new maintain gender by country task. And if you do not do anything, if you don't want to configure anything, you retain the existing functionality on your configured values and gender prompts, so nothing is changing. Okay, next one, we have correct supervisory organization on hire. And in R2 version, Workday enables reassigning automatically inbox items awaiting action after the supervisory organization has been corrected in the hire business process. And this, of course, reduces manual effort. There is a new checkbox, automatically reassign inbox items in delivered in the staffing section on the edit tenant setup HCM task. We can have a look at that in a minute. And to use this functionality, the correct supervisory organization on hire checkbox must be first selected. Just you need to know that security permissions for the impacted events are not individually assessed. So it's important also to test that if all security issues go correctly. Ability to reassign inbox items awaiting actions requires administrators to have permission to access the correct action on the hire business process security policy. We have here also the configuration notes. So grant permission for users to the correct action on a higher business process security policy if you don't have it already. And then access the stuffing section on the edit tenant setup HCM task. And there you can enable the correct supervisory organization on higher checkbox on the edit tenant setup HCM task. And select the correct supervisory organization on higher checkbox to automatically display the automatically reassign inbox items checkbox. Let me share the screen. Okay, we are now in Workday. F11. No. Sorry. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can actually. Before we could even see it full screen. So now there's some Skype prompt on top of it. Yep.
Yeah, I noticed. I don't know what happened there. Sorry for that. That is something that may happen. But yeah, let's go to edit tenant setup HCM task. And here we will go down a little bit. Let's find stuffing part. There it is. And here we have we have other things. Enable job overlap on positions. Let me scroll down. I'm too far down. You can see there is a lot of different settings here. And in different areas. Just a minute. Correct supervisory organization on hire. That should be there. If anyone sees it, you can. There it is. Now I can see it. Okay, it's in the last one. Yeah. So it is in here in stuffing part, but it's the last tick box there. So I was happily scrolling over that. So correct supervisory organization on hire. That is which you can click on, and then it also opens the automatically reassign inbox items, which you can then either select or leave selected or take off. That was about the configuration. And so when after this change, if you do an organizational reassignment, or actually in this case it is if you correct the higher business process, then all the items that are awaiting action will go to the new receiving person if the person has changed in this correction. Some other considerations, when you submit your correction to the higher business process, Workday runs the background job, which is reassigning the inbox items awaiting action. For deployment considerations, these web services get tenant setup HCM and put tenant setup HCM must be updated to version 37.0 to view the changes. The summary about this, so Workday enables automatically reassign inbox items which are awaiting action after supervisory organization has been corrected in higher business process. And you need to update security policy permissions, enable the correct supervisory organization on higher checkbox. That was the checkbox we ticked in setup, tenant setup. And then select the automatically reassign inbox items checkbox. That was the one that appeared after this first one was ticked. And if you do nothing, then organization on higher checkbox is not selected, and that is not selected, you will see no changes. And the automatically reassign inbox items checkbox is not displayed. And if this correct supervisory organization on higher checkbox is selected, but you don't select the automatically reassign inbox items checkbox, then you need to continue manually reassign all those inbox items which are awaiting action. And next we have expand race and ethnicity capabilities. I don't know how much you need to use these features, but let's go through anyway, rather quickly these. So Workday 2021R2 enables workers to provide race and ethnicity information in more details. This is for helping to meet diversity and inclusion goals. So there are new functionalities, maintain race and ethnicity details, web services for race and ethnicity details, race and ethnicity details, and so on. And in the next slides, there is a little bit more about each feature of functionality, actually. And you can have a look at those. Or if you need to have some more information on these, if you want us to go through it now in more deep, you can send question and Tina will tell me. But otherwise, let's just go this through rather quickly. So there are also some details, prompts, and new fields for these purposes. And in personal information. There's also some race and ethnicity details category. And you can configure the categories with maintain race or ethnicity details task. And these can be used in custom reports and condition rules, this information if needed. Also, there is purge race and ethnicity details, which is of course important. If something is saved, then it's someday it needs to be deleted also. And scramble is also possible for race and ethnicity details, data scramble. So there are also some details about configuration, but maybe we can go through this also a little bit quicker. And you can have a look at it in more detail if needed. There was also the link for the posting of these features. There's a screen copy here about maintaining race and ethnicity details. Additional considerations about this for race and ethnicity on the maintain ethnicities task. So it relates to the values for race and ethnicity details. And new term on maintain custom labels is visible when the feature is in production. And for integrations, if you opt in, you need to determine whether you send over this data as part of your employee demographics. And if you want to do so, you need to confirm, of course, that the destination system also is able to accept multiple values. Deployment considerations, update the get all employee personal info web service to version 37.0. And for integrations, if there is this feature taken into use, this is actually a bit same than above there. So it's very important to make sure that all interfaces or integrations approve the data which is sent. What is changing? Workday enables workers to provide more detailed information about race and ethnicity. And what is needed? You need to verify security permissions on the setup, contact info IDs and personal data domain, and review and modify configuration on the maintain ethnicities task. And more was in the configuration slides. And if you do nothing, workers can still specify their race or ethnicity, but can't specify their race or ethnicity details. So information is a bit higher level, different kind of information. Okay, next, job overlap for positions.
Sorry, Kaija, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yes, of course.
We get a question to the previous feature. So it was about the corrections. So I'll just read up the question now.
Yes.
Will the reassignment of task take an effect in whatever stage of the business process hire the correction is done? So in other words, can the correction being done in whatever part of the BP hire?
So it seems, of course, there has to be some awaiting actions there. Or if the question was only about correcting the organization, you can do that also after the hire has been ended. I mean, when the person is already employed, you can do that. But of course, if the process is in such a state that it is waiting for somebody else to do something, I think you can't do it until the business process is handled forward. I don't know if I can explain this correctly or so that you can understand, but if there's something pending in the process, it can be that there is something blocking the change. But it's not described in very detail, so that is something that is very interesting to test when the feature comes, or actually it is in preview already.
All right, thank you for the answer. So, maybe we can do some more testing and then come back to this afterwards after this session.
Yes, we can do so.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, now I have to check where I am. Sorry, I have to undo the sharing for a minute. A little bit, I'm sorry for that. Some little bit of kind of learning here with the web presentation.
No worries. Hopefully, we are going to get eventually to the stage where we can have the face-to-face meetings.
Hopefully so, yes. Okay. This presentation mode is a bit different than normal Teams meeting, so this is a bit exciting for me to do this. Okay, can you see now again?
Yes, now it looks just fine, so you're good to continue.
Great, thank you. Sorry for the hassle. Okay, job overlap for positions. So here Workday improves job overlap configuration options for positions and provides a more flexible way of handling jobs and to keep the headcount accuracy. This also enables simplifying the process of managing employees on assignments. And functionalities within this job overlap configuration changes are rather many. And here is the list of those, and then we can go to see more on each functionality. So enable job overlap for past events. It's possible to enable job overlap for positions in the past when you use certain business processes, which are change job and additional job and contingent worker contract and end international assignment or termination. And enable job overlap on position restrictions and jobs available for overlap in web services. Workday delivers a new enable job overlap on position restrictions checkbox on the edit tenant setup. And when the checkbox is selected, you can select the available for overlap checkbox on position restrictions in another task, create position and edit position restrictions, and a new available for overlap field is displayed on web services also. Create position and edit position restrictions. And when you select the available for overlap checkbox on position restrictions, you can backfill a position that already has a worker with an unknown vacating date. So it's possible to have two persons in same job, in same position, sorry, even when the other one is not yet resigned. And hire employees into job overlap on vacating events. It's possible to use web services to hire a worker into a position that's available for overlap. And those are add additional job, change job, contract, contingent worker, hire, and start international assignment. And then automatically enable job overlap on vacating events. There is a new checkbox. Automatically select, is this position available for overlap on vacating events? That is delivered on the edit tenant setup HCM task. And when you enable that checkbox, Workday automatically selects, is this position available for overlap checkbox on business processes, change job, and additional job, and contingent worker contract, and international assignment, as well as termination. And this update does not apply to corresponding web services for the business processes or change job events that are initiated through the review employee contract and review probation period business processes. That is something to remember also. Hiring employees into job overlap on vacating events. Following business processes can be used to hire a worker into a position that is available for job overlap. And those processes are add additional job, change job, contract, contingent worker, hire, and start international assignment. Then remove overlap checkbox on position restrictions, event service. Workday delivers new remove overlap checkbox on position restrictions, event service for business processes, change job, and additional job, and contingent worker, contract, and international assignment and termination. So they are the same rather much. Start and end. The event service removes the available for overlap checkbox on position restrictions when checkboxes enable job overlap on vacation events and enable job overlap on position restrictions are selected in the edit tenant setup. And these are meant to reduce manual effort as Workday automatically removes the overlap field on position restrictions when the worker is vacating the position. Job holder for positions overlap field. There's a new job holder for position overlap field in job details report on worker profiles, and that enables viewing whether the worker is the principal or overlapping worker for the position. So that is that can also be interesting. For example, if there's I could imagine that, for example, on long absence, there could be two persons in same position temporarily. Use the configure optional fields task to show or hide this field. And then enable job overlap for vacating positions. For clarity, Workday has renamed the allow job overlap for staffing checkbox to enable job overlap for vacating positions. So not staffing, but vacating positions. And position overlap report fields are delivered. A new job holder for position overlap report field on the position and job all staffing models business objects. And the field can be used in custom reports to identify if this worker is the principal worker or overlapping worker for position. There's also updates for overlap report field description and overlap type report field on the position and job, all staffing models business objects. So that returns true when you select an overlap type on position restrictions. The configurations are done in edit tenant setup. There is automatically select is this position available for overlap on vacating events and enable job overlap on position restrictions. And Workday recommends that you configure the remove overlap checkbox on position restrictions event service for these business processes. And that is ensuring that the field is automatically removed on position restrictions when you vacate the event, when you vacate the position. And access the configuration, configure optional field task to enable or hide these fields, job holder for position overlap, and available for overlap. Any additional considerations to be noticed are if you previously have enabled job overlap, you can now enable job overlap for positions in the past and hire workers into an overlapped position when the worker has already vacated. And the allow job overlap for staffing tenant setting on the edit tenant setup task is renamed to enable job overlap for vacating positions. and Workday does not intend this feature to be used for job sharing. It is just for temporary use. But let's go to Edit Tenant Setup and let's see if I can now find some values there. Okay, we have now Workday open. Can you see that? Dina, can you see Workday screen?
Kaija, we still see only your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So there's something funny with the sharing. Let me just check this. Okay, now you can see the presentation again, I hope.
Yes, that's right.
And let's go now to Workday. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we are again and still in the Edit Tenant Setup and in the Staffing section in there. And here in the middle, you can see here is Enable Job Overlap for vacating positions. Also, there is this automatically select, is this position available for overlap on vacating events? Very long names for this, tick marks. And enable job overlap on position restrictions. So you can find these staffing related settings from staffing part. Quite logical. Okay, as summary, Workday improves these job overlap configurations for positions, and aim is to provide more flexibility and headcount accuracy. And you need to enable the new job overlap tenant settings to get those working. And if you do nothing, workers cannot be temporarily hired into a position that has a worker who is not vacating the position. And job overlap on vacating events will not be automatically enabled. Next, we have Org Studio and reporting. For Org Studio design reporting, that enables you to configure reports to view your current or proposed organization data, simplifying how you view the impact of your organization designs on your organization and workforce. And again, there is a bunch of functionalities which come within this feature. And in the next slides, there is something a little bit more about each feature. So maintain Org Studio tasks and reports. Workday delivers new tasks and reports. And that is enabling making custom or delivered reports accessible through Org Studio. So there is a report configuration, maintaining and viewing. Reports menu for org designs. Workday adds a report menu option on Org Studio designs and enables accessing delivered or custom reports from the Maintain Org Studio report configuration task. And Workday also delivers new org designs report domain that is secured to the organization and roles functional area. And that must be enabled to use the new option. Report fields and calculated fields for organization business object. Workday delivers the new report fields on the organization business objects, and you can use in custom reports. This. There is organization change types, level from top, org studio current excluding changes, and then org design if approved, and level in org design, position count in organization in org studio, and then org studio current excluding changes. Also, new calculated fields are delivered on the organization business object. Change in count of positions in organization, change in percent of positions in organization. Organization summary for org design reports is delivered. New reports, making it easier to view the impact of your designs on organization and workforce. There's organization age band summary for org design that displays current or proposed age band representation, and organization headcounts management summary for org design, and that compares current and proposed headcount and management information. And these reports are secured to domains maintain org designs and org designs reports. Calculated fields for supervisory organization business objects. There are new calculated fields delivered, and they also can be used in custom reports. So there is change in count of field positions in organization, and change in count of unfilled positions, manager positions, change in manager span of control in organization, change in percent of filled positions, change in percent of unfilled positions, and then also manager span of control in organization org studio and org studio current excluding the changes. Org studio report data sources. Workday delivers new report data sources. All organizations in org design supervisory, and that enables you to create organization level reports for organizations in a selected organization design and all positions in org design. That enables creating position level reports for organizations in a selected organization design. And you can configure reports using new ideas on the new Maintain Org Studio report configuration task. Calculated fields and report fields for positions, position management and position and job, all staffing models business objects. New calculated fields are provided by Workday, and these also can be used in custom reports. So there's age group for worker filling position and date of birth for worker filling position. And Workday also delivers new report fields supervisory organization on the position management business objects and worker on the position and job, all staffing models, business objects. Report fields for supervisory organization business objects are delivered, and those as well can be used in custom reports. Let me see, did I click different way? Yeah, okay. And configuration is done or enabled. You need to enable the org designs report security policy and run the maintain org studio reports configuration task and select the reports that you want to be available in org studio. And then access an existing org studio design, or you can of course create a new one to confirm the new reports menu and make sure that reports are available then. Some additional considerations. Users secured to either domain will automatically get access to these new Workday delivered reports. Organization age band summary for org design and organization headcount or management summary for org design. And users secured to the maintain org design domain will get access to the maintain org studio reports configuration task. So that is what defines that you can configure the reports into org studio. And what is changing? Org studio design reporting enables you to configure reports to view your current or proposed organization data, and is simplifying how you view the impact of your organization designs and designs on your organization and workforce. And you need to, if you have already configured org studio and mass actions, then you need to enable the new org designs report security policy to give users the maintain org designs and participate org designs domains access. And then need to add the reports to org studio. If you do nothing, if you already have configured org studio and don't enable this new org designs report security policy, you won't be able to run reports from org studio. And if you haven't configured org studio, there's no changes to you. Okay, next we have personal information by country. And Workday enables collecting country-specific personal information for employees so that it can information can differ from country to country based on primary work location. This enhances ability to manage employee information and improves, of course, the user experience as they have each more familiar information to fill. New functionalities are country segment setup, security, personal information data scrambling, edit personal information by country reports, and report fields. And again, we have more detailed description here. Country segment setup security. Workday delivers a new country segment setup domain that can be used to restrict personal information based on this country segment. And you can also restrict access to personal information by role-based users. Personal information data scrambling. There are new fields delivered on the personal information section in the Create Data Scramble Plan task. And those can be used to scramble person's personal data. So there is disability, gender identity, military, political affiliation, race, ethnicity, and then there's separately Hispanic or Latino, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Edit personal information by country, that is Workday is delivering new edit personal information by country task. And that can be used to configure country-specific personal information. That can be also configured as an initiating action on the personal information change business process. And Workday also updates the Change My Personal Information task so that it's enabling to capture multiple sets of country-specific personal information. Personal information by country reports. New reports are delivered to enable to see all the countries that personal information is secured to. There's View My Personal Information by Country report and View Personal Information by Country report. View My Personal Information and View Personal Information. So that is the difference between these two. Personal information for country report fields. I'm sorry, I have to sip water a bit. Okay, hopefully my voice is now okay. So personal information for country report fields. Workday delivers new report fields on the worker business object, and those can be used in custom reports and conditions rules. So there are all personal information for country, and personal information for country of primary position. Also, personal information change event country report field is added on the personal information change event business objects. And that can be used in custom reports and condition rules also. And Workday updates many report fields on the worker business object domain to indicate if the report fields can be secured by country. Configuration for these to set up the ability to set up the ability to edit personal information for additional countries where a worker hasn't worked. You have to edit the security policy for the personal information change business process and add the relevant unconstrained or country segment-based security groups to the new initiating action, which is edit personal information by country. Here you can see also a screenshot of that. To set up country segment-based security, you need to do some configurations, and there's also a new update from Workday for this. If needed, you need to create the security policy for the country segment setup domain. So there are rather many things you need to take care of in these security configurations. And then you need to remove the unconstrained security groups that are part of the segment-based security group from the relevant personal data security policies. Also consider creating an aggregate security group if you have several country segment based security groups that have the same security permissions. And now we go to the next slide. Here you can see a screenshot of that. View segment based security group. And you can see also from here, there's context type is constrained by segment access. Reports that use existing report fields will continue to report country-specific personal information that is associated with the country of the primary position. And summary, what is changing? Workday enables you to collect country-specific personal information for employees working in countries that differ from the country of their primary work location. And of course, it makes it more flexible to manage employee information and also improves the user experience. And what needs to be done? Ability to view and edit personal information by country for workers' positions is automatically available. And optionally, you can set up the ability to view and edit personal information for additional countries in which a worker hasn't worked, as well as set up a country segment-based security. And training material needs to be probably updated if this is taken into use. And if you do nothing, personal information is available for each country that a worker has worked, even after the worker moves to a new country. And you won't be able to add personal information to a worker for a country in which the worker has never worked. Then we have personal information help text. Workday enables configuring help text by country on all sections and fields in the change personal information business process. And that is done to help workers enter their own data. This provides transparent user experience and helps, of course, also to meet regulatory obligations and analyze workforce data. New functionalities here are maintain personal information help text task. Workday delivers new maintain personal information help text task that administrators can use to enter help text for fields and sections on the edit personal information task. Help text supports rich text format, and you can then use formatting there using different fonts and font size and colors. View personal information help text report can be used to see the help text configured for a country. And then personal information help text web services can be used to configure and view country-based help text for personal information. Those are get personal information help text and put personal information help text. In configuration, you need to navigate to maintain personal information help text, and in country field, select the country for which you want to configure help text, and then enter help text for the available personal information sections or fields as you need. Some additional considerations for this, you must configure personal information help text on a country-by-country basis. So it's not possible to get that for all countries at once. What is changing? Workday enables configuring help text by country on all sections and fields in the Change Personal Information business process. And what needs to be done? Use the Maintain Personal Information help text task to configure the help text, and that will appear for worker when they are editing personal information. What happens if you do nothing? You'll see no changes in Workday if you don't enable this feature, and personal information task will continue to function as normal. And no configured help text will appear on personal information task. Next, we have simplified add additional job. Workday delivers a simpler and more intuitive way for managers to add additional jobs for their employees. And that should save time and reduce manual effort for managers. New functionality is jobs reports for worker profile. Workday actually has renamed all current jobs reports on the worker profile to jobs. Workday also adds new location column on the report to display the location of the job. And you can now view jobs that are in progress or have a start date in the future. Workday also displays in progress jobs that you initiate from the Start International Assignment business process. Add job that is delivered by Workday, a new add job button, which makes it easier to add an additional job for employee. And you must be able to add additional jobs for employees as an initiating action on the add additional job business process to be able to view the button. Enter details on new job. When you access the add job task, Workday displays a pop-up where you can enter details related to the job you are adding. And add job for configure optional fields. There are multiple fields that Workday delivers, and you can hide or require on the additional job option in the configure optional fields task. For organization assignments, on the additional job business process, you can display fields, cost center and customer organizations. And these fields are automatically populated actually these fields automatically populate the hide for all option on the configure optional fields task. Configuration for this is done by accessing the configure optional fields task, and you can then determine if you want to display the cost center and custom organization fields, or hide or require other fields for additional job. And then review additional job business process definitions to verify the change. And if you enable the cost center or custom organization fields to display on add additional job, evaluate if your change organization assignments for worker business process definition requires updates. Also access business process security policies for functional area report and verify the permissions on the add additional job business process. To use the new add job button, there must be permission on the add job online task initiating action. So that is important, otherwise the button is not visible. Some additional considerations. The new organization assignments section displays the cost center and custom organization fields when change organization assignments for worker is configured as a sub-process of the add additional job business process, or otherwise it is not shown. You configure cost center and custom organizations to display on change organization assignments through the maintain organization types report. If that is not configured, Workday automatically hides the fields on that job task. You enable both fields on the configure optional fields task to not be hide for all. If you don't configure change organization assignments for worker as a sub-project, then Workday automatically hides the organization assignments section. If you use a rule-based business process definition for add additional job with change organization assignments configured as a sub-project, the organization assignments section always displays. If you use either condition rules or rule-based business processes, then make sure that you include change organization assignments for worker on all the add additional job business process definitions. And these changes do not apply to web services. Summary about changes. Workday delivers simpler and more intuitive and easy way for managers to add additional jobs for employees. And you need to display the cost center and determine if you want to display the cost center and custom organization fields and hide or require other fields for add additional job. If you do nothing, updates to the jobs profile group report are anyway automatically available. And the pop-up automatically displays when you add an additional job, but you won't be able to view the organization assignments section. Then we have transactions in Org Studio.
So, sorry, Kaija, can I just
Yes.
shortly interrupt you? I just wanted to remind you that there is 10 minutes left from your presentation. So,
I was just checking. Thank you.
Yes, no worries.
Great. So let me have a little look. Sorry. what I want to tell you about. There's these transactions in Org Studio. Let's have a short look at that and then just kind of go through very quickly the other ones. So in Org Studio, it enables you to change organization assignments for positions and workers and process changes in mass actions workbooks. And Workday provides more options for assigning roles and default certain values. New functionalities are create subordinate organization default fields. When a new subordinate organization is created in an Org Studio design, Workday populates those below mentioned fields based on the superior organization. So there's primary location, staffing model, subtype, and visibility. And you can modify these fields as needed. This function is automatically available. And this, if you are using Org Studio, this could be affecting on your training materials. Change organization assignments. Workday delivers this new task. And you can use the new task as a related action on workers and positions in an Org Studio design to propose changes to organization assignments. And the available organization assignments are based on your configuration or maintain organization types, maintain organization subtypes, and defaults for individual supervisory organizations. That this feature needs or functionality needs set up. And expanded options for assigned roles. With this update, Workday expands the options for assigning roles for an organization in an Org Studio design. The roles you can assign are now based on your configuration of the maintain assignable roles task and no longer limited to leader is supporting or Workday delivered manager. This is automatically available. Okay, that was the main features. And then we have some other features of 2021 R2, and you can, of course, read the material through. There are Org Studio display and export designs, Workday Assistant for changing personal information. There's a few slides about that, different functionalities there. And expand end jobs capabilities. Also a couple of slides for that. And change assignment for end contingent worker contract. EIB spreadsheet layout for import web services. There are changes if you need to have a closer look. There's description of that also. And contextual security for organizations and locations. Web services has updates and quite a few language translations also are there. And in Workday community, there is this address where there are language-based pages. So if you are interested and need to know how the translations are going, you can go to this page and see the recent situation. Just one note about language translation. So there is still something going on in translations. So it might be that not all will be in the production within this release timeline. Then there's configure related person relationships by country. So that is also possible. You can configure dependents, beneficiaries, and emergency contacts. And here is some more detailed information on those. Then there are quite a few changes for I-9 form, which is USA specific form. They are also listed here, and links for Workday posts for those which have that. Also, there is some changes for race and ethnicity, EEO reporting for USA, and that is also shortly described here. Some more smaller features. There are some miscellaneous enhancement, segment-based security group for public profile, veteran status identification. I believe that is also USA data. Then there is some staffing related data for localized staffing report fields. And there's a setup is required for that. And union security groups. And this is automatically available, but could be also USA related. I'm not quite sure of that. Maybe I can have a look at that if there would be some use for use in Finland for that also. For 2021 R1 plus features, there's also some main features described a little bit more. But as these are already in production, you probably already have information on those. We don't need to go through those. But if there's something you want to look, then the material is here. So first there is this automatically manage business processes for a worker. There's more description on that. And then we have end jobs and terminate workers. That also is in production since 16th of April, but still there is here is a description. So if you are not yet using this one, you can have a look. And international and domestic assignments, some changes have come in May for these. And information is there to have a look. And my info in Workday Assistant, that has been taken into production on 16th of July. So a bit newer feature, but still in production already. Transactions in workbooks for change org assignments. That has been in production since June 11th. And then there is also a shorter list or shorter description of some other features of R1 Plus. So there are some change assignments for end employment events and personal information, contact information, and contact information reporting, phone number, some regulatory reporting, some miscellaneous enhancements. What a difficult word. Worker positions, employees with contracts, and so on. And view organization and org chart performance, design experience with org studio and mass actions. And that's actually the content. Other than then, there's the roadmap in Workday community for HCM area also. So here is the link for the roadmap. So you can click that and go to see the roadmap if you are interested in. Just a few words from the roadmap. These are the kind of themes that are on the Workday HCM roadmap. There is experience, increasing end user satisfaction and engagement, agility, reduce administrative burden on HR and managers, diversity, equity, inclusion, foster workplace belonging, for example, public profile enhancements, global HR regulatory reporting, and then personal information by country. These are examples from there. But you can have a look at that also, and Workday is updating the data or roadmap on the go. And before you go, I would appreciate very much if you would take a little time and give your estimation on the webinar. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to get back to ask those, and we will get back to you in answers. And as said, this has been recorded, and Q&A questions will be answered. Are there some questions now, Tina?
Kaija, no, right now I didn't get any more new questions, but thank you very much for your presentation. And as Kaija said, you may use the QR code on the display to provide us a feedback. And we are also going to share the link to the feedback later on, so you can also provide a feedback later if you didn't catch the QR code. And now it's about time to invite our next speaker, Aleksandra. Aleksandra will guide us through the enhancements in the system and reporting areas. So, Aleksandra, do we have you with us?
Welcome. Yeah. Hi. Welcome on the system and reporting presentation for the Workday 2021 Release 2, organized by TietoEVRY. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. And now it's live, so you're good to start.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, Aleksandra, I think that something went wrong with the microphone. You've been muted for a bit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's perfect.
Sorry. Yeah, so any of your questions would be highly appreciated. And after the session, as already Kaija mentioned before, there will be also materials distributed to you. Sorry, I have some issues with the presentation. Oh, yeah, okay. My name is Aleksandra Ciurka, and I'm technical consultant with more than 5 years of experience with building Workday integrations and reports in multiple implementation projects and during post-go live support. Safe harbor statement applies. And today I would like to go in deep for 7 new features which are coming. I will also mention one report drill to feature that is unfortunately postponed. And then I would go quickly through some other features. And let's begin. The first feature I would like to tell you about is consolidated business process event steps. On some slides like this, you can see this link below the title, and this will direct you to the community page with the what's new post if it's available for this feature. So this first feature for consolidated business process event steps is regards not required like event steps with not required statuses, which will be now collapsed into one row in the process tab process view. This will reduce the number of unnecessary business process event steps generated in your tenant and streamlines what you see in the event process history. You don't need to do anything to have this feature on in your tenant. On this slide, you can see the screen of how it looks now. You can see several steps with not required status. And after the change, it will look like this. So you will have one row with the number of the steps that are collapsed in it. And maybe I will try to show you this also in the tenant. So let's go to Logan's inbox. And in her archive, let's try to find some good example. Yeah, maybe this one. And when we will go to the process page, we can see that for this worker, for the absence request process event, we can see this collapsed not required steps. When we will click on it, we can see which steps are there inside. And you might wonder what this not required step mean. So to clarify that, I will go to the definition of this business process. And in the definition, you can see that some of the business process steps have condition rules. And if the condition rule is not met during the process, then this step gets status not required. And if there are several steps, one with this condition rule not met, one after another, they will be collapsed to one row, as you could see here. Additional considerations. So you should bear in mind that the processes which are already in your tenant before the release won't have this steps with not required status collapsed into one row. It will be valid only for the new processes after the release. Additional features which are coming with this feature, just to reflect them also in other tools. It's, for example, the update to get event details web service that will be updated to return all business process event steps that are consolidated into one event record. There are new report fields released for step type, steps, order, task, and event step has multiple steps on the event record business object. They are secured to the public report items domain. And they will replace the old report fields, which will be now DNU'd, and their description will be accordingly updated. Also, we update the workflow step security group report field on the event record business object, that enabling you to report on security groups associated with each step that's consolidated to an event record. So what's changing? We will have now consecutive business process event steps with not required statuses within a business process event collapsed. Some of the fields of the report fields will be DNU'd, and there will be new report fields released. What you need to do, this consecutive business process event steps feature will be automatically available, but you can have a look if you are not using the report fields, which will be DNU'd. When you will do nothing, still this consolidated business process event steps feature will be available for you, but you can notice because of the DNU of some report fields that this annotation might appear on some reports if you are using the mentioned report fields. Next feature that I would like to present to you are the changes to global search. So in this release, Workday is changing the localization of the search bar. It will be now in the center and it will be a bit larger. Also, the new category for revenue is appearing on the left side menu, which you use to streamline the result of the search. For some search categories, the performance will be improved, and also there is introduced new 20-term search limit. So when you will put to the search bar more than 20 words for searching, you will be prompted to refine your search. Also, when you will click on a search bar, you will see that new buttons were added there, also to let you filter the and reduce the number of results of out-of-context search results. There will be for drive, learning, people, and tasks and reports. All these new features will be automatically available for you. And the consideration that I would like to mention is that you cannot configure these buttons on the search that will streamline the search results. They are not configurable yet, at least, and also they will appear accordingly to the security access. On this screen, you can see some of those features that I mentioned. So you can see that the search bar is in the center. When I put there more than 20 words to the search bar, you can see that there was information displayed that I should refine my search. And here the revenue category appeared. And here on this slide, you can see these buttons that I mentioned. So to summarize, search box look will be different. New category for revenue on the left side menu will appear. You can see the better performance for some category search, and new buttons are added to reduce out-of-context search results. All of those new features will be automatically available. You can consider updating your training materials, and you don't have to do nothing to have those features in your tenants. Now let me tell you a few words about enhancements to mobile app. So with this release, Workday enhanced how we display the global header across Workday, improving usability. And at least this bullet point it's not applying only to mobiles, it's also applying to the desktop app. In mobiles, from now on, notifications for the inbox and notification sections will be collapsed under the profile avatar. And also, there will be a Lithuanian translation available for ESS and MSS on Android, iPad, and iPhone. This new header features, which I mentioned, one doesn't need any configuration. Of course, translation would need some, but now it's available. You can update your training materials. And here you can see the screenshot, how it will look like now. So you can see that here on the top, there's less icons. And when you would click the logans picture, you can see that notifications and inbox are there. So the search box look is different. The icons look on the top bar will differ. Inbox and notifications are collapsed under profile avatar, and the new translation in Lithuanian are available on mobiles. So new features for global header are automatically available. The translation would need a configuration, and you can consider updating your training materials. Yeah, let's continue. Let's have a look on Drive updates which are coming in. So with this feature, we deliver a new setting icon on the Drive homepage, enabling you to configure the Drive homepage folder and also to reorder the left navigation pane selection. Also, there is possibility to collapse the right pane. Those features are automatically available. And let me show you this in the tenant. So let's go to Logan's Drive. And here you can see the settings icon. By dragging and dropping, you can play with the order of the folders. And when putting it to the top one, homepage, it should be marked as the homepage here. During my testing, I noticed that in our GMS tenant, this homepage doesn't really work well. I mean that, for example, if we are on a recent folder and we will go to the main page and we will come back, we won't be directed to the favorites, but we will still be in the recent. Let me demonstrate it to you. And let's go back to the drive. Yeah, and we're still on recent. So please have a look if in your tenants this is also, there's also this bug. I think that Workday will soon fix it. And Windows pane collapsing. So for example, maybe, yeah, let's maybe click here. So there is this line which you can click and you can then enlarge the space here that can ease the working in Drive for you. So you have new option to configure better Drive menu accordingly to your needs. This setting icon is automatically available to you. If you want to make any configurations, you won't see any changes. Another feature for Drive that will be now, since this R2 release, is that you will be able to download additional file types directly from Drive. They are listed here. The Workday enhanced discoverability by adding icons to identify filter types in addition to the item type names. So you will see the icon that reflects the file type, and it will also be, it's also available in a filter. I will demonstrate it in a second. And another cool feature is that from this release, you will be able to open PDF files in Drive by double clicking. Before it wasn't so easy. Those features are automatically available. And additional considerations that I would like to mention is that Drive still doesn't support downloading discovery boards, folders, media files, and zip files. Also, if it's about the docs, document templates, notification designer templates, slides, presentations, worksheets, workbooks, and workbook templates, you cannot download them directly from Drive, but you can export them from their respective applications. let's maybe go again to the tenant. So for example, here you can see a JPEG file, and when you will do the right click, you can see that there is option to just directly download it. As I mentioned, for discovery boards, it's not possible. So if we'll right click here, there's no such an option. I mentioned about the icons, so you can see pretty icons here. You can see that if you will click filter, you can see also pretty icons here. And PDF preview is now possible just by double clicking. Before it was like with how it is still with JPEGs. So before it was that when we are double clicking, you have just option to download or close. So good improvement. So to sum up, new options to download more types of files directly from Drive are available. Files icons are available that reflect their type, and now opening PDFs in Drive is possible by double click. Those features are automatically available. Even if you will do nothing, you will get those features. The next Drive feature is that you will be now able to share Drive items with non-worker users, such as extended enterprise learner accounts, implementer accounts, and service center representative accounts. There is a security configuration needed to be able to do that. So you need to have access to one of those mentioned security domains to be able to share the file. So for example, if you want to share the file with implementers, you need to have access to this security domain. And also this non-worker with whom you want to share the file must have Workday credentials, access to the Drive domain, as well as required application domain to open the file. For example, for a non-worker to open a worksheet workbook that was shared with them, the non-worker must have access to the worksheet domain. Let's maybe again go to the tenant. So for example, let's say I would like to share, I already granted Logan access to the mentioned domains. So now when I will go and share, or I can just click here and use this, I can search for some implementer account and I can pick one. Yeah. Next feature. There are links available to open applicable user profile for a Drive item. If the user information displays as regular text when the applicable user is the same user as the user who's viewing them. This is also automatically available, and I think this screen is enough. So when you click on some file that is shared, for example, you can see the owner, you can see when it's created, and you can see the links here. So you can click it and go to Teresa Serrano profile. Same as here on the share pop-up. And now let me tell you a few new features for discovery boards. So with this release, Workday delivers a new delivered discovery board report, which enables you to see delivered discovery boards and copy them to your own to your Drive, and then you can configure and customize this copy and work with it however you would like. This solution is improving searchability, reduces manual effort, and increases analytics and reporting efficiency. So, new delivered discovery board report is available. There is a copy button that you can use on this report or task that is copying the discovery board to your Drive. New subdomain is available called Discovery Boards Manage Deliver Discovery Boards. that you can use to manage access to Workday delivered discovery boards, and also 3 new report fields on the discovery board business objects are available. They are used in this mentioned report. So about the configuration, you need to have access to this domain, to this new domain for manage delivered discovery boards to have access to the report. So considerations, make a copy. You can make a copy of delivered discovery boards to view its configuration. When you make a copy, the tenanted version behaves like any other tenanted discovery board. So it means you can play with it as you like. You can add visualization, you can remove one and do whatever you like. And what is important is that any future changes to those delivered discovery boards won't reflect on your copied versions. And let me go to the tenant and show this to you. So here's this report, and when we will click on some, so for now only 2 discovery boards are shared. You can click but make a copy, name the copy you would like. Create a copy, and then you can find it in your drive. Yeah, it's here. So to sum up, new report is available. You can copy from it, deliver discovery boards and play with them. There are 3 new report fields available on discovery board business object, and new subdomain is there. You to have possibility to use to see and copy those deliver discovery boards. You need to have access to this new domain. What will happen if you do nothing? The task or report delivered discovery boards won't be available to you, and you won't be able to work with delivered discovery boards. Next discovery board feature is that you will be able to expose built-in prompts and filters for reviewers with whom you are sharing your discovery board. Maybe I will show you in a moment how to configure that. Just additional considerations. So when I will do the the demonstration, please have a look that there will be some apply buttons, and there are like built-in prompts and sheet prompts which you can use in this discovery boards in the visualizations. You need to remember about clicking apply a button and saving things. From my experience, I can say that it's really often that you can forget that. So just have a look. I put in bold there one thing that I noticed when I was testing this feature is that the viewer don't see that he has any prompts available. So if we will not tell him that he can go to some viz and prompt, for now he won't see it. But let me demonstrate it to you, and you will see on your own. So let's go to this discovery board. And here you can see that we have some discovery board already existing. And let's say that we would like to, you can see that there are, like, for example, gender distribution. I will go to the edit mode now. And you can see that this is a visualization created on all active workers. And on this data source, there are 3 filters available. So if they are like this, it means that they apply to all the visits which are built on this data source. What I can do now with the new feature is that I can click on the vis, go here, and it's already done, but let's just delete this. And I can say that let's say that I want this filter like play with it. Like, for example, let's say that I want to see only on this vis data for only contingent workers. So I can go here, override at vis, then click, just remove the employees from the list and apply. And now we can see that that filtering applies only to this vis. Another thing that I mentioned, so the prompts available for the viewers, the feature can be toggled in like this, that we can expose to the viewer by this switch here. And when we will do this, this prompt will be visible for a person with whom we are sharing this discovery board in a viewer mode. So I will apply this change. I will save it. And now let me go to another window where I'm logged in as Steve Morgan, with whom I shared this discovery board in a viewer mode. And I will go to his drive. And he can see in his drive this discovery board, which Logan is the owner. Let's go there. Because he's only a viewer, we cannot see the edit button. But when we will go there and we will click on this vis, you can see that he can see this filter, so he can play with the data here. This is this apply button that I mentioned. You need to remember to click that. And he can play with that here. What if we want some another filters which are not available on the data source? Then we can go here and we can see 2+ signs. We can add sheet filters and vis filters. And again, sheet filters apply to all the visits that are on this built on this data source. So let's say we would like to see all these visits with the filter for the age groups. We can add it like that, and we can do this. And then we can play with it, like adding and removing some age groups. We can again expose it to a viewer for Steve, so he will be able to see it and again do the same. Here also we can choose some vis again and move this this filter to apply only to vis, or go here and just create some other filter which will apply only to vis, because when we will move something to the vis level, it means that it applies only to this one chart. Yeah, there's also always option also, of course, to clear the override and to remove the filter from this vis level. So to sum up, you can expose prompts on discovery boards to the user with a view access. You need to create and expose prompts by toggling the function on in edit mode of the discovery board. If you will do nothing, you won't create the prompts, there won't be this feature on your discovery boards, and it won't be available for viewers. The next feature for discovery boards is that 2 new indexed report data sources are now available to be used in discovery boards. Those are completed bonus and one-time payment for HCM reporting and strategic sourcing savings. So there is a domain that needs to be configured to be able to use this data sources, like report, strategic sourcing, and saving security. At least this one I noticed as disabled in the GMS tenant after the release features were loaded. But for sure, you should also have like all security needed to those data sources to be able to use them. So 2 new data sources are available, and you need to configure security domain to be able to use them. If you won't configure security, you won't have access to the data sources. You won't be able to see them. And another new feature for discovery boards that is coming with this release is the new type of discovery board that will be available. This new type is called KPI. It stands for a key performance indicator. It displays progress towards a specific target. You can use KPI viz on aggregated numeric or currency data. When you create or edit a KPI, you can display a visual cue that indicates progress toward the target and the variance between the base measure and the comparison value. On the data source palette, okay, this is like I will demonstrate how to configure this KPI this type in a second. So some considerations regarding this feature: you can't export this viz as a custom report. KPI viz type for discovery board is similar to KPI cards for scorecards. The data source, all analytics metrics values is available for discovery boards. KPI viz type allows for one comparison of 2 values, and there are rules which you can add and some indicators. So for example, for expected values or value range, there is a green indicator, for warning yellow, and critical red indicator. And you would need 2 KPI vizes to map to one KPI card. One viz to compare prior period value to actual value, and one viz to compare target value to actual value. KPI viz type does not currently allow for trend arrows. And let me go again to the tenant. And like here, you can see the KPI viz that I already created. And on a community post for this feature, you might see some more complicated example, I think with journal lines, but in my opinion, the like demo on a simpler values is like easier to understand, at least for me, it works. So let me create, I will now step-by-step create the same KPI, and then we can add some twist to it also. So I will add a viz. And we will use the same, it doesn't want to cooperate now. Let's try again. Okay, so we want to use the same data source. We'll apply this. Here we want to change anything. We will actually, here we are putting what type of the viz we want to put, and we will choose KPI. And we want to compare the number of female workers and male workers in a GMS company. So let's find the female workers number. Yeah, we need to take the sum value here. Okay, we have 190. And then the comparison measure will be the male workers number. Okay, numbers look the same. We are missing this nice indicator here. So the indicators are in the Viz options. Here you can see also that we can play with the, for example, name here. So if we would like, instead of target, add there that it will be male workers number, we can do that. There are some other options for variance to show us percentage and so on. And the indicators tab, where we can use the base measure or percentage of target. So I will use percentage of target, and I will use that we would have a green indicator if there will be between 90 and 110% male workers of female workers, and then we will have yellow indicator if there will be between 70% and 90%, or again warning when we will have between 110 and 130 and we will be alarmed when there will be less than 70 or more than 130. Apply. Yes, and we can also add the title here, but we don't want to have two same this is here. So what we can do, we can use the knowledge from the previous feature about the prompts. We can click here. We can go here, override this at the Vist level. And let's say that here we want to see only contingent workers balance between the male and female workers. We'll apply it. Yeah, and here we can see that the balance is not very good. We should work on that. So to sum up, new type of Viz is available now on discovery boards. You can, what do you need to do? You just need to go and create some. If you want to do it, know of any existing visualization in discovery boards will remain unaffected. So you just won't have this experience with new type of the Viz on discovery board. Now let's leave behind the discovery board and let's say about the display data change that is coming. So with this release, Workday is changing the library, which is responsible for the formatting of the local formats of some data. From now on, it will be integrational component for Unicode for Java, called ICU4J, the default Java library. Before it was JDK. Here are some sample values that will change. In the table, you can see how it used to work, how it used to look like for some particular locale, and how it will look like now. So regarding configuration, no configuration is needed. It will be, you cannot prevent it. You don't have to do anything to have this. It will just appear in your tenant. Additional considerations. So I wanted to mention that this library is an industry standard open source library used by leading tech companies for internationalization and localization. It's continually updated by Unicode consortium. And this change applies to date, time, calendars, numbers, and currencies. Also, I wanted to mention that this change has been in preview tenants since 2021 R1. So if you have been performing any testing since then and you haven't seen any changes that would be alarming, then maybe you don't have to worry about this change. On the What's New post regarding this feature, there is Excel sheet available which lets you see differences of date formats for each locale, but it's only for date formats. And also, you may notice that some date formats appears differently only when both of the below statements are true. So Workday previously implemented a field without a format mask, and now formatting is handled by this new library. And the date format for locale is defined differently between JDK and ICU for J. So display of date, time, calendar, number, currency is changing. This feature is automatically available, and you can use international components for Unicode as the standard library for date and time formatting for all locales. And now let me introduce to you the last feature that I would like to talk about in deep details. This is called Workday Query Language. Workday Query Language enables you to get the data from Workday from outside the Workday. It reduces the need to write reports to retrieve the Workday data. I like to think about this feature like something similar to report as a service, but you don't have to configure the report and you don't have to maintain it later. Workday Query Language enables you to use the WQL REST web service to retrieve a list of data sources and data source filters, details about specific data source, fields in a data source. You can use the information from the response to construct a WQL request to retrieve data from Workday using getData WQL REST web service endpoint. There is new task available, which is called Convert Report to WQL, because WQL stands for Workday Query Language. So if someone doesn't know SQL, he may have some troubles with at first creating these queries, and this task will be very helpful with that, because if you have the report which returns the data you want, you can then just put the name of the report to this task and it will convert it to this query. Also, very cool feature is that matrix report can be converted by this task and can be retrieved by the WQL. So yeah, that is a very cool feature. And also just wanted to mention that the output file, like the output of this Workday query, is in a JSON format. Configuration is needed for this, so you need to configure API client for integrations and give him proper access to the data sources which will be needed in REST calls. Users which is assigned to the API call client needs to have access to a new domain called Workday Query Language. Additional considerations, this feature is automatically available. To make Workday Query Language API calls, your user needs access to the Workday Query Language security domain, and you must create API client. I added here also a link to the community post or question, and in the responses, you can see the folder with the files with the very helpful instruction how to set up API client for this WQL feature. Not only WQL feature, but at least it was very helpful for me. So I thought it's a good idea to also put it for you here. Let me do some demo. So let's say that you would like to have ability to some vendor to get the data from the report called workers by location or diversity reporting. Yeah, okay. Okay, it will execute. But let's go to let's say edit mode. Yeah, what I wanted to show is that this is the metrics report. So we cannot do a report as a service call, but we can use now this cool new feature, this new task, and then go to Postman, because that's where the all magic is happening. You need to do the REST call and get the data from this report by Postman. So we can just have a quick look that there are this classification field, gender and ethnicity, the count. There are some prompts there for country, location, and so on. And I will copy the name, and maybe let's go here, type WQL, and we can see that new task is available. Let's go to it. Here we can just paste the name of this report and click OK. There are those prompts from the report popping up. I won't change anything. I will just press OK. And here we have what we need. This is this query, Workday query language. If we will go into deep, we can see that it selects the fields which we saw on the report from this business object. And there are also some filters from prompts added. So some WID for the country, for location, and all the stuff that were put in the prompts. So I will copy this query and I will go to Postman now. And thanks to this document that I mentioned earlier on the community question, I already configured the API client and this get access token thing in Postman. So I will now call for the token to have access. Yeah, everything is successful. And I will go now to my to the place where I will call for to get the information from the query. I will paste the query that I got from the task in Workday. Just like that, query equal sign, and then the query from the task, and click send. And in response, you can see the fields, their values, their ID, and so on, all in JSON format. So to summarize, you can use SQL-like syntax access Workday data to access Workday data sources and fields through RESTful API. Customers can access Workday data without needing to write custom reports. You don't have to write them. If you know the syntax, you don't have to, even if you need to write them at the beginning, you don't have to maintain them. You don't have to worry that someone will come, add something, or delete something. Data represented by matrix report can be now queried from outside of Workday. What do you need to do? This feature is automatically available, so WQL is available for you automatically, but you need to configure API client and access to WQL security domain. What will happen if you do nothing? So a new domain Workday query language will be available in the tenant and the WQL task also. If you choose to do nothing, your user without access to the domain won't be able to make WQL API calls. Now, I would like to mention about one feature that is postponed. It's called drill to report links for composite reports. And Workday reversed this feature from preview due to regression. The date of the next load to preview is not defined yet. So if you are waiting for this feature, I think you still need to be a bit patient. Unfortunately, I cannot present it to you it now, yeah, because it's not available anymore. And now I would like to go briefly a few other features. I would start with maintain hubs task. This might be also very interesting for you. This is the way how the things will be accessible for the users. And for the more info, I would like you to invite you to the time tracking presentation tomorrow. Eva will demonstrate how to set up this hub for time tracking. Also, there are enhancements to video content. So there are some new captions and transcription features available. The way how you can turn them on or on, and that changing the color to display black text on white background now. Also, some interacting numbers are available. Next thing is that business process step type cannot be edited, and that I would also like to show you in the tenant. So let's say we have a business process on the integration. And let's go to the business process definition, but it also applies to any other business process. So let's say we would like to make some changes to this business process. So from now on, we cannot change the type, this column. It's the reason why Workday changed that is for the security reason, because if we would, for example, in this case, started to play with that and change it, we would lose all the configuration we had for the delivery settings. If you want to change that, I would recommend to remove this step and add the new one, and then configure it with the new type. Next feature that is coming is that new type of PGP public keys are now Workday enables you to create those in Workday, but it's not recommended because they are not in Workday opinion. They are not secure enough. So you can upload them, but they are not recommended. Another new feature that is coming up, you can notice on configure alert task that now there is last 25 reports I created row appears, and it will ease you to make it easier to you to pick the report that you want to build the alert on. Also, improvement to the report run history report. Worklet is added to the execution mode prompt. And some web service updates. I think Kaija also mentioned a bit about it, that to add update organization and get location web service support contextual security is updated in the version 37 for this web services. And also in Connect campaign web service, ID field is added to the Connect campaign data element on the contact campaign web service, enabling you to reference an existing campaign to edit. Also changes, small changes with REST API. Workday marks the audit logs APIs in the Common API version 1 REST web service as deprecated, and recommend that you use privacy version 1 REST service instead. And two last features that I would like to mention are updates to translations. So new business object translation report will be used with new grid there. And translation in Indonesian and Malay available for worksheet partner specialist and safety incident tracking. And also a new feature is that base value will be displayed when a translation is deleted using business object translations report or translate instance related actions. And the last but not least, the PDF font is changing for the generated from Workday PDF files. So before the release, Arial was used, and now Noto Sans will be used. Due to small differences in those fonts, there might be a slight variation in word width and line breaks compared to the same PDFs printed in Arial. I think we are running out of time, so I will just mention that there's also 2 slides for roadmap, and there are links to the community which will also direct you to the videos regarding those new features coming. And in my opinion, those new features are mostly concerning the UI and the way the things you can click, how it will look like, and so on. Thank you for your attention. Tina, I think I can. The stage is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. And now I would like to thanks to the morning presenters, and we are going to have a short lunch break. We are going to come back at 12:45 EET, and Vinod is going to present us with what is Workday Extend. So right now, let's have a break and let's meet up soon. Thank you.
Thank you.